Hello Linux fans, Rob here and welcome to Linux Quest, and today we're going to take a look at Linux Mint 19, the XFCE edition. Now today's video is a first for Linux Quest. It's a 2-in-1 review. So coming right up will be the first part, which is a quick overview with some relaxing music playing in the background for those of you who just want to take a look at what things look like. So enjoy that part, and then following that will be the more in-depth review where I'll dig around, probably talk too much about things, but I'll get into the settings, configuration, some customization, and we'll take a look at what's new in Linux Mint 19. So hope you enjoy and stay tuned. So here we are for the more in-depth review portion of the video, and as you can tell, I've already customized and tweaked and added a little theming here to Linux Mint 19 XFCE. So, you know, one of the things that I appreciate about Linux Mint, and if you talk to people who have used it for more than just a couple of days or a couple of months, if you talk to someone who's used Linux Mint as their daily driver for, say, a year or more, they'll tell you that one of the things they love is the stability, and that's be it the Cinnamon Desktop Edition or the XFCE version. Now, I prefer the XFCE desktop with Linux Mint and ran that for several months myself and just had a fantastic experience. It's very tweakable, it's light, so it runs on older hardware. And if you look at some of the other YouTubers out there, you know, I think Joe Collins and several others have run Mint XFCE, and I think maybe Lynn from Don't Call Me Lenny used it for a while as well. But at any rate, everyone remarks about its stability. And then on the XFCE side, as you see here, you can really configure things to look just about however you desire. Now I've got the Arc Darker theme in place here, or Arc Dark, and left the icons intact. So we're going to jump around. Let's go ahead and jump over to the welcome screen, and this is what you'll see at first boot. And we see here Linux Mint 19 XFCE 64-bit. So this is one of the things that's new is the welcome screen you see here. So you've got categories on the left. So you've got first steps, documentation, help, and contribute. So let's go ahead and go down to first steps. So system snapshots is something that they point out, and we'll kind of go back through another list here. But I've already got through Timeshift here a snapshot in place. Let's go ahead and enter our password, and you'll see here back this up today. So Linux Mint 19 Tara, and it's easy, straightforward. Maybe in another video we'll go through things like this in more details. Driver management, got that in place. I have no proprietary drivers running. I've already done any updates. There were a few updates in place here. And then system settings, we'll launch over to that in a little bit. And then software manager, but you can just see here first steps. This is excellent for someone new to Linux who's not really familiar with how to find your way around. You know, they certainly maybe don't know anything about the drivers and where to go to get those proper drivers within Linux. So it's great to see that there, as well as updates and any system settings. We are going to jump over to the software manager, and this has been improved. So there's some refinements in place, you know, different. So you hover over here and you get different color changes. Just visually, it looks really nice. Everything's very crisp, but it's much deeper than that. So the search is supposed to be faster. So actually, let me type properly. So we'll go ahead and start typing Chrome for Chromium browser, which I haven't installed yet, but I will. But we'll use this as an example here, so you get a nice rundown of all the applications that that come up close to what you've searched up here. And that was a pretty fast search. So let's go back in. Now, what I like here is you get descriptions and reviews. You can add your own review. You get details of the package with the version number, the size and everything, all the details you need. Now typically what you're going to find too on some of the apps, especially games, is you'll see screenshots. And one of the things that I've noticed, let's go over to Minecraft. There should be plenty of, well, there we go. Yeah, so there's a screenshot. And one thing that kind of stood out to me is that the screenshots for the majority of the apps are improved. They're maybe higher res screenshots. You can see a few more details like here. Now if you double click that, you don't get anything, but you got a link right here. So nicely done. And just the speed moving around, you'll see a few transitions and things like that. You've got your categories down here at the bottom. So if we go into sound and video, so you can just kind of scroll. Let's see what we've got over here. So you've got options to show installed applications. Search in the package summary, that's a slower search. And then you could search in the package description, and that's even slower. So a couple of options there. Now here you see the subcategory. So once you go into sound video on the left, you've got all, or you could just drill down to sound from there, or drill down to video from there. And you'll see the ratings here too, so that's kind of nice. So even if you've got this in a smaller window like this, everything still shows up. So very nice. It is refined. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close. Actually, we're not. We're going to go, let's go over to documentation, and we'll go right over into new features. And so that's going to bring up the browser. So we'll quickly go through some of these because I'm sure many of you have seen already the beta videos, and there's been several good videos out from our fellow YouTubers. So Timeshift, that's a big part of what was introduced in Linux Mint 18.3, and they've been some refinements and improvements, and that's back in for version 19 here. Also, the update manager no longer promotes vigilance and selective updates. It relies on Timeshift to guarantee the stability of your system and suggests to apply all available updates. So those two are working together. Now the update manager, that's something that Linux Mint kind of pioneered some features there where they had a system in place that would tell you if it was critical, what level of update that is and the risk associated with that. So they're continuing to improve in those areas. So updates are sorted by type with security and kernel updates at the top. A new type was introduced for updates from third-party repositories or for third-party repositories and or PPAs. So you can hover your mouse cursor over these updates and it'll show their origin in a tooltip. So maybe well, I don't have any updates there to do that, but you get the idea. And then they go on to say, thanks to Timeshift, it makes it easy for anyone to work around regressions by restoring snapshots. So that's certainly nice. If this is going to be your long-term OS, just these two features, the way they're working together, to me is very nice and makes it a viable update. So the Mint Update Tool command was replaced with Mint Update.cl or -CLI, and this new command doesn't use deconfig. So it provides better options and is easier to use in scripts and in the terminal. So the kernel updates, they rely on meta packages rather than manually installing the kernel packages. So that's going to make it easier to remove your older kernels by just using apt auto remove. So there you've got a new welcome screen. We took a look at that as well as the software manager. Oh yeah, I didn't want to forget. So the software manager has Flatpak support. You'll see that right down there at the bottom. I should have showed that when we had it up earlier. That came from 18.3 as well, but there's improvements in place there. The layout was refined, transitions and animations are there, so you see that as you move your mouse over and everything. So high DPI support has gotten better, so improvements there with Mint Y and GTK3 support. XApp improvements, so I won't go through all of those. Again, a lot of this you've seen in other videos. So this will be a long-term release, and you'll receive security updates until 2023. So the kernel in this now is 4.12, I think 0.3, and you can upgrade kernels as you go. Well, you've got actually 4.15, yeah, and Linux kernel 4.15 is available as well. But I think what's running right now as default is 4.12.3 or 4 maybe. All right, so that covers that. So release notes, we'll kind of skip over that. Actually, let's go back to first steps. And I'm going to go into system settings from here. And again, I've got theming in place here, so this is not what you're going to see. If you go back to the short part 1 of this review, then of this new 2-in-1 review format. And I hope you like this, by the way. You'll see more everything stock because I pulled up settings there. So here's what it looks like with the ARC theme in place. So you've got your categories here: personal, hardware, system, and other. So under personal, you're going to see appearance, desktop settings, file manager settings, your notification settings, panel settings, And some of this is redundant. You can find this in other areas. So for example, your panel settings. Now here's an area that a lot of people like to get into, which is your window manager tweaks. And so from here you can change things like cycling through windows, focus, accessibility options, workspace options, and I don't really do that. I just kind of work with one desktop and everything, one workspace. Your placement. So this is the placement of windows, and then you can get into compositor settings. So you can disable compositing fully if you'd like to. Change settings here for Windows previews in place of icons, shadows, things like that. And do a little tweaking. Not as, there's not as much here in way of tweaking as you would find in KDE, but it's not far removed. Lots of options here for various desktop settings and just configuration in general. So I'm going to step through some of that next, but before we do, I want to go ahead and just talk about the Whisker menu. This is in place. I didn't do a lot of changes here, but by default you're going to see the Whisker menu as opposed to the plain Jane XFCE application menu. And one thing that I do appreciate is they set it up the way I prefer, which is your categories on the left, and as you scroll through you see the apps. Now I took the icons off of the categories over here, so we'll kind of jump through a little bit of that. As I said, I'm going to bounce around on this some. This is more in depth. I'm kind of thinking of maybe more of my reviews being a 2-in-1 review. So again, for the folks who just want to see a quick what it looks like, without a bunch of jabber as I'm known for, running my mouth too much. Then this side for the folks who don't mind me, again, running my mouth too much as I go through on the distros. All right, so let's go ahead and stretch this all the way up. Just for those that are interested, we'll go ahead and go to all, and I'm just going to scroll through here so you can see there's your Compiz Config Settings Manager. So we'll jump back over to that. So this is an advanced tool. You need to use this with caution. This tool allows you to deeply configure Compiz settings. And if you go, if you check out Linux and other stuff, Dave over there, man, he is like the Compiz king, man. He can go in. He's got several videos where he goes in and tweaks and changes things. I mean, he gets into the wobbly windows and everything. So I highly recommend that you check out his channel for any of these Compiz settings. And Dave's also a big XFCE fan. So, but anyway, that's where you go for that. Just wanted to point that out, and then we'll jump back over here. Anything else here that will stand out? I'll point it out as we go. You're going to see Libreoffice in place. This is a full-featured distro, and what I mean by that, some distros come in really bare bones, and then you go in and you add to it, install the packages / software that you want. Others are more for full-featured, and some of them even go so far as to have a little bit of bloat, just too much stuff installed, redundant things installed. I think with Linux Mint you get a really nice balance. It's full-featured, but it's not overly bloated. So in most cases you're not going to find like 3 or 4 different photo editors installed just because somebody decided they wanted to do that. So here you'll see like pics. But as we scroll through here, let me just point out. So you've got Media Player, and then VLC was installed. So you've got 2 options there: Screenshot Tool, Settings Editor. I installed Simple Screen Recorder, Software Manager, and then you also have the Synaptic Package Manager, and for many people that's their way to, let me go ahead and enter in password, that's their way to manage their packages. They just prefer this straightforward approach, and so that's in place. So that's another redundant way to obtain your software. Let's see here. What else might we want to point out? Simple Scans in place. Thunar File Manager, that's a part of XFCE. Thunderbird for your mail, that's in place. There's Timeshift, we talked about that. Update Manager, Window Manager. Let's see here. All right, well that'll just, this is all, so this gives you an idea. Let's go ahead and jump into Appearance. and this is where you'll go in to quickly change your theming. Now, if you go into the software manager and you simply type themes, and we'll jump over and do that, you're going to see a long list, but from there, if you like this arc or arc dark that you see here in place, you can install the arc theme, and then from there you can jump over to appearance, and you'll be able to switch easily over to that. And then on the icons, huge fan of the Mint Y or Mint X icons. Let me see if, let's see, I went with the Mint. There's Mint X. We're going to stay with Mint Y here. There's not a lot of differences that I've been able to tell. And then under fonts, didn't have to change a thing. That's another thing with Linux Mint you'll find out of the box. The font rendering in most cases is going to be really, really nice. It's as nice as I've ever seen it on any distro. And then we can go over to settings, and you've got some options there under toolbar style, whether or not to show images on buttons or images in menus. And let's go ahead and enable the event sounds. That's another thing that you'll find in Linux Mint is through XFCE is they do have event sounds in place. And so just for the fun of it, we're going to go ahead and check those off. All right, we'll hit close here. Now, I moved this panel, so we'll go ahead and jump around a little more, and we're going to right-click on the panel, and then we're going to go to Panel Preferences. And so from there, you can choose to unlock the panel, and when you do, you'll see two little bars pop up, one at the top and one at the bottom. Right now, this is desk bar mode. I've got this over here on the left, and I like interacting with it that way so that you get more space top to bottom. This is a widescreen monitor, so I've got plenty of space there. But in the event that you like it at the bottom, you could go ahead and hit horizontal, and now you've got it here at the bottom. Otherwise, you could left click, hold, and drag that right up to the top. Same way if you're in vertical mode, you could left click and drag that over to the right if you prefer to have it there. So just to give you an idea of the flexibility there. Now you can add things, and once you've got everything set up, you can hit lock, and you'll notice those bars go away, and now everything's locked in place there. You can also change the row size of the panel, and you'll see that immediately as you slide it around. Now it gets a little crazy in that typically the system icons over here will get out of whack, and the only way that I have found to so if I wanted a really wide bar to make these icons larger, for example, and my icon launcher down here larger, you see the volume control here, it's totally out of whack. Now these others, they've kind of maintained. So the only way I found to get rid of this is to delete this particular, or remove, not delete, remove from the panel the Pulse Audio plugin. It's just always been that way. It's one of those little things that's annoying. So, but at any rate, we're going to slide this back down so that it's more manageable. And you see it's still out of whack now. It's at 36. Okay, so when you get to 36, it goes back down to normal size. Under Appearance here, I'm currently using the system theme for the panel. You could change it to a solid color, or you could make it transparent. So lots of things you can do there. Items. All right, so from here you've got your notification plugin, Pulse Audio plugin. So you could remove it from here as well, or go up and right click and remove it. And then you've got lots of other items that you could add from right here as well. Action buttons, the date, the time. Eyes that spy on you as you move around. So never found a use for that one really. Places, so from Places you could click on the folder and it'll give you a pop out, things like that. Screenshots, you could add that there so that you've got quick access. Show the desktop, the trash applet. So let's go ahead and we'll just add that to give you an idea. Now that popped down here at the bottom, and so we're just going to right click on that and go to move, and now we can drag that right up here with some, well, I say that, where are you going to put me? So it's not giving me the space there. We'll go ahead and put that there then. But I know you can get it up here if you need to. All right, let's go ahead. That's just showing me what I had running there. But you get the idea. You could add a separator, so if you wanted to put more space between your icons and even things out, you could do that as well. All right, you could add a weather update, things like that. So there's lots of things here to check out and add over to your panel. You got to be careful though, because you add too much and it just kind of, things start to mush together and the spacing's not right, and sometimes the icons don't work out the way they should. And then also, if you're set up here in vertical mode, some of these new items won't show up properly. So if you've got something that's showing weather information, it's going to cut out some of the verbiage there. You won't see everything. So just a little tip there. All right, we're going to go ahead and hit close here, so you got the idea of how flexible this is. Now, the Whisker menu, I've talked about it in numerous videos, but if this is your first time seeing anything about Linux Mint XFCE, I want to touch on it a little bit. So if you right click and you go to Properties, you're going to have options for your Whisker menu. One of the things that I do with Linux Mint is I always change the icon, the application launcher icon, because I just don't like, I'm going to say this low, I don't like the Linux Mint icon. But if you double click that, it takes it a minute because it's accessing your file manager. Basically, it's going to pop up, or it should. It's going to make a liar out of me. There we go. Excuse me. And then you can just download, like I downloaded this icon here, and you just want to make sure it's a high quality icon. In this case, PNG, that's what I go with, is a high quality PNG file. And then you can change that icon to be really anything. You could put a picture there, for example, a picture of yourself, so that you see yourself down there in the corner. There you go. You could use single row pane. You could also put a title there. So here you've got an option for icon, title, or icon and title. So if you just went to title, you see it says applications, but you could change that to say go, for example. So I'm going to just click go, and you'll see that that says go now. Now it's set up vertically, so you're reading it top to bottom. You're reading it vertically. So whatever you put there, just be aware of that. But you could also have a combination of both icon and title, and from there we'll just put menu. But again, you see it's vertical. So if you were in horizontal mode, it would be under the icon, and you would see it, as you would normally read it. Unless you always read vertically. If you're the person who reads vertically all the time, you're going to absolutely love this. All right. Of course, I'm kidding. All right, so let's move on from there. I'm here all day, folks. All right, from there, the other thing about the Whisker that's so, oh, I missed something. I want to show you something else. So let's go back, and we'll take out menu too. Let's go back. We'll just take that out. We're just going to make it an icon. Commands. So the commands are what you see when you pop up here. Okay, so this will let you log out. But actually, if you click on this, it's not just log out. It's going to be log out, restart, shut down, suspend, hibernate. So you can save session and everything from there too. So what I do, to each his own here, but what I do is I go ahead and take off the lock screen. So if we put that on and switch user, because I'm the only user, so I'm not worried in this case. I really don't need all of those up there. So what you see, you stop right there. So if you want to scroll over and make this slimmer, with all of those on, you can only go so far, because then it comes up to your username and your user photo. So what we're going to do here is I take off lock screen in my case and switch users. Just don't need those there. So go ahead and close that back out. And now you'll see there's only two icons, and now you can squeeze this over closer. And why that is important is you could also, while you're at it, let's say maybe you don't want icons over here, and you really just want to keep this slim, for example. And I don't know why I get into crazy things like this. It's fun for one thing, but it's cool to kind of just see what it looks like. So maybe you just want this to be really slim like that. Okay, so what we could do then is right click again, go to properties, and you can totally turn off the icons for the items. So I've got icons turned off for the category, and now it's going to be turned off for the actual item or the application. So let's go back over here, and now you see they're gone. And so you can make that really nice and slim. We'll shrink it down here a little more. And it's one of those things, folks, that once you learn your way around, once you understand what the applications are within Linux and you found your way around and everything, you'll kind of know what you're looking for as far as the name is concerned, and you can just quickly do, a search. So Firefox is going to pull up, of course, with Fire. Not sure why some of these others are pulling up. That's kind of interesting. But anyway, you get the idea there. So you can make this application launcher or the Whisker Menu really small if need be. And then you could go even smaller if your username was, I'm just exaggerating there, but if your username was 2 letters, you could really shrink it down. So you get the idea. You could change your user image. So got a little penguin set up there, and you can put your user information there as well. All right, so we'll move on from there. Now the other thing about XFCE that I like is you get a right-click Live Desktop, and from there you can go into Desktop Settings. You can arrange your desktop icons, get into the properties, but you've also got some quick launch actions here. So open as root. Thank you, Linux Mint. All right, don't want to get distracted, so let me go back in. We'll go to Desktop Settings. Let's go ahead and hop over, and you've got some really nice wallpapers in place, and that's another thing from the Linux Mint team. Really, through I would say the majority of their releases, last 3 releases, when you go through, just really nice high-def, high-quality wallpapers in place. Hey, Statue of Liberty. That one's cool. I didn't know about that one, so we'll go ahead and close that out. Whoa, that's bright. I just burnt my eyes, but that's pretty cool. All right, so we'll go back, right-click again, Desktop Settings. And so let's move on over here back to the beautiful water, and we'll close that out. So again, flexible, quick launch actions here. You can go right into Desktop Settings, and from there you can get into which icon. So if you're someone who prefers to have icons on your desktop, you've got your options here for Home, File System, Trash, and Removable Drives. You could also choose from here single click to activate items, and bounce back and forth. I typically use single click, so we'll turn that on as well. And you can bump up the size of the icons, so you'll see here as we change that, these are going to get a little larger and larger. Let's see how far we can take it while we're having fun here. So we've got that bumped up to 80, and so we'll go ahead and close that out and drag those over where you can see them a little better. So if you're someone who does like having icons on your desktop or shortcuts, it's possible within Linux Mint on XFCE. All right, so we'll go from there, and let's go over to Thunar. And Thunar is a very nice, clean, easy to control file manager. It's it's, I guess I would say maybe it's tied with file. Well, no, whoa, back up. To me, it's heads and tails above files within the GNOME desktop. It's going to be tied with, and I'm drawing a blank, folks, but it's tied with Cinnamon's file manager, and I should know the name of it. Shame on me. But anyway, I'm sure I'll see it in the comments. It's tied with Linux or Cinnamon's file manager, and then to me, KDE Dolphin, takes the cake as far as file managers. But Thunar is great. You can, you've got different view modes. You can zoom in, zoom out, a detailed list, compact list. And then the nice thing here, if we go to File System, thank you Linux Mint team, if you go into something and you want to open as root, you right click, and from there you open as root, enter in your password, authenticate, and bam, you're in there. Warning, you are using the root account, but it's so nice that you put that in place. It saves us users a step, so thank you team. But again, very full featured, copy paste tabs, things like that. So you could, let's just go back into the regular file system here. We'll come out of root. Let me close that out. Go into view, view as icons, and now if we wanted to open this in a new tab, so you've got your 2 tabs here, bounce back and forth. Let's see, let's go into music. You could right click from there and open in a new window as well. So everything you need, you've got click and drag, so you could drag from one to the other. As you hover over the icons, you'll see a little hue change in the color. This is speedy, and I know it's XFCE, but this is really snappy. And I think, the Cinnamon version's probably been improved as far as speed goes, but it just doesn't feel as fast as XFCE. So what else do we want to look at here? Let's go ahead and go back into System Settings. Actually, let's go into Display just a minute. I wanted to point this out because I've got this set up on a dual monitor setup, and I don't know if this has been improved either on the XFCE side or maybe if Linux Mint did some work, but this looks better. It's more polished. And so I've got this 27-inch HP monitor here. It was just real simple. If I click on that, I can choose use this display and then use this as the primary display, and it's going to give me all the information, resolution, refresh rate, things like that, all set up. And here I have this one disabled because I've just got this not in a dual monitor arrangement, but just set up as an external monitor. But if you wanted to change that, you could also choose to use that display or set that or mirror those displays all from right here. So that's nicely done. All right, well, I've gone on long enough, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up, this more in-depth review up. I am looking forward to giving this a go and spending a little more time with it. And I hope you found this video informative. If you have, a thumbs up would be great. And look forward to your comments on it. As always, thanks for watching.